Okay, we're all set, Aaron. Go ahead.
Okay, good, Joanne. Thank you. And welcome everybody to the August 16th, 2023 meeting of the Danbury Planning Commission. We will open with the roll call. Mr. Chiocchio.
Here.
Ms. Hostetter. Mr. Sylvain.
Here.
Mr. Haas.
Here.
Kev?
Yep.
Okay. Chairman Finaldi is here. Mark, Ms. Hostetter is absent. Hopefully she will join us. We won't be seating any alternates. We don't have any alternates, do we? Joe, I don't think we have alternates on the Planning Commission.
No, Arnie, we don't have any alternates.
Okay.
Everyone's a full member.
Got it. Good enough. Let me read the standard Zoom meeting intro. This meeting of the Danbury Planning Commission is being held on Zoom as a virtual meeting. Even though this meeting is a virtual meeting, members of the public and interested parties continue to have the opportunity to participate in the meeting in a couple of different ways. You can participate via Zoom and see the audio and the video, or you can call in by phone and participate via audio only. Please be aware that we may have to mute your microphone or telephone to avoid an echo or some other background noise. Instructions on how to participate in the meeting appear on the City of Danbury website, and all of the documents and materials that apply to the matters to be discussed during this meeting, including the agenda, are also available on the City of Danbury website. As always, if you have any questions regarding how to participate in the meeting, please contact the City of Danbury Planning and Zoning Department. As a reminder, the entire meeting will be posted on and can be seen on the City of Danbury website. We will follow the posted agenda as per standard practice. If prior to the meeting, any questions or comments on agenda items were submitted via email to the Planning and Zoning Department, those comments will be read during the appropriate portion of the meeting. Finally, please remember that technology glitches do sometimes occur. Please be patient if that should happen. One other thing before we move into the rest of the agenda tonight, there is one small correction on the agenda, commission members. You'll see on page 2 of the agenda under new business, it mentions an application for Safstore Real Estate Company LLC. And at the end of that paragraph, it says the public hearing is scheduled for September 20, 2023. Let the record show we need to correct that. The public hearing on that matter will actually be on September the 6th. So if you would make that correction on your agenda, we would appreciate that. Commission members, the first item on our agenda is the acceptance of the minutes of June 21st, 2023, which were distributed. Unless there's any comments or discussion, I will entertain a motion to accept those minutes.
I'll make the motion to accept those minutes.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to accept the minutes of the June 21st meeting. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? The minutes are accepted. Let the record show the next regular meeting is scheduled for September 6th, 2023. Moving down to our agenda. Yes.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman. Helen is joining us. I'm letting her in now.
Fair enough.
Sorry.
Let the record show that Ms. Hostetter joined the meeting at approximately 7:37 p.m. She there? You there, Helen? I don't see her yet. There she is.
I'm here. I'm trying to get my,
Okay, there she is. Okay, you can hear me.
sorry,
Good.
sorry, I'm a little late.
Okay, as I mentioned, the next regular meeting of the Danbury Planning Commission is scheduled for September 6th, 2023. Please note your calendars accordingly. Looking at the agenda, the following application has been withdrawn. Tower Investment Group LLP, application for special exception, site plan approval for apartment house, the Legacy on Main, trip generation in excess of 500 vehicle trips per day. I'll skip reading the rest of it. Doesn't really matter because as the record shows, the application has been withdrawn. We have no new public hearings this evening, so we will move right to our continuation of public hearing agenda. Down Home Associates LLC, property owner, application for special exception, site plan approval for, hold on, I got to sneeze. Okay, it went away. Application for special exception site plan approval for self-storage, Putnam 3 shelf storage in the IL 40 zone, 7 Great Pasture Road, L16001, special exception number 797. I believe this public hearing was opened in June, on June 21st at our meeting on that date, June 21, 2023. As this is not a new public hearing, but a continuation, I do not have to read the legal notice. So I will go right to, is there anyone wishing to speak in favor of this application? Mr. Mizuko.
Yes, good evening, members of the commission. For the record, I'm a professional engineer, Mike Mizuko, representing the applicant, Joe Putnam, who is a member of both the Putnam 3 self-storage as well as the ownership of the property itself, is here tonight as well. And we continued a bunch of the public hearings because we were really waiting for engineering comments, which we did finally get. And we went through the staff report and engineering comments, as well as other department comments. And if I can share my screen, I'll just walk through the revisions. Everybody seeing that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, great. So this is just a title page, nothing really changed here. I go to the area maps. Just want to go over one thing with regard to the floodplain, because there was a question about that. And in the floodplain request that I made, I did specifically note that there was no filling or anything in the floodplain. And that's based on a couple of things. One, when I was out there doing soil testing, we noted that the area was undisturbed at that, in that area. And when we did the soil test, it didn't show any indication of any past filling operations on the property. And so in addition to that, what I did was I took, I'm just going to zoom in a little bit more here. So you'll see there's a set of dash lines and a set of solid lines. And the dash lines is the 1987 City of Danbury topo. So that I have the 358, the 358 and the 360 contour here. And you can see the solid line is the current Connecticut Eco topo. And they match up pretty close. I mean, for aerial photography, it's pretty close. So that just sort of backs up the fact that there was no filling in that area, and the flood elevation is pretty much the 358, which let me just pan over here, and you can see that the black line is the boundary of the property, and then this 358 is the flood contour elevation in that zone AE. And that I took that contour line and I put it back onto the site plans, which I'll show you. So that was really the changes on that sheet. And then again, here's that 358 flood elevation line. And again, pretty much comes up to the flood line that was shown on the survey map. Pretty much follows that 358 contour, which coincides with that flood elevation. So it is pretty accurate. I was working on a site in Sherman, and the flood mapping was just so far off, but this is very, very close. So along some changes on this map was we added some top of wall, bottom wall elevations. That was something that the engineering department wanted more detail on. We added snow areas, which is sort of the cross hatching here. I got a little note there. And I did show, we went back to the architectural plans and we took a look at where their doors are situated on the building. So you can see them here, as well as building B. So some of them have internal hallways, and that's what those doorways allow access to. We did add, there was a couple of questions about traffic circulation. Most of this is really one way. We did add another do not enter sign here. So anybody that comes I tried to put the curbing to sort of indicate that, yeah, you're not supposed to go that way, but I did add a sign there. And I believe another sign right here, so nobody pulls in and tries to go that way. And these arrows are also going to be painted on the pavement to help indicate, people, guiding them where to go and where not to go. So as far as the site plan, I think that was the changes there. I know there's some other comments on the staff report that I'll get to when I go to the architectural plans and the planting plans. All right, I talked about the floodplain. We did note that the driveway is supposed to be 8% for 30 feet. There was some comments from the construction services, Rob Barone, about clearing, and no question, right now the foliage comes out pretty close to the edge of the road, but this is going to be pulled back. You can see our sidewalk's going to be against the property line, and that sidewalk's 5 feet wide. So you've probably got another 7-8 feet here, a little bit less over here, but that'll all be cleared back, and there'll be nothing between the edge of the sidewalk and the edge of the curb except for grass. And one of his comments was I think it came in today, and I'll talk more about when I get to the landscaping plan, but there's just concern about plantings in the right of way. And I actually agree with him. I don't think that any tree should be planting in the right of way because they block sight lines, they get under sidewalks and curbs and edge of road, and for that very reason, I think that's what he was getting to. So I totally agree with that. The one thing that did change a little bit, not much, originally we had the office in this corner of building B, but it was flipped around, and I think some of the reason for that is there's some windows here. You keep better vision around and down between buildings B and C. So you'll see that reflected on the building plans. And so we were missing an island at the end of the row parking, so that was added, and that was being reflected on the landscape plan too. Obviously, we'll get health department approval for the septic system, which I'll show you on the other sheet. We added the construction limit line on the site utilities plan and additional details. And we do have more of a complete set of elevation drawings on the buildings, which I'll show you too. Yeah, so there was a question about the front of the building with these pull-backs, the front access doors, the pull-up doors along the front. And I'll talk a little more about it when we get to the rendering, just to kind of go over some of the changes. And one of them was we called this fence across the front to be a solid fence as opposed to like a chain link fence, just to shield that. And it does sit up quite a bit higher, especially on the north end. So in addition to the fence, you're driving south from, say, Shelter Rock, you're not really going to see too much of that first level of that building where those entry level doors are. We did go through engineering comments. And I don't know if you wanted me to go through item by item, but I think it's mostly technical stuff, and I'm sure we'll get comments back in regard to the stuff that we submitted, because it was quite a bit of details that we had to change and add, and so I'm sure they'll have additional comments on that. And we did The front building, as noted here, is sprinklered. And I did fire flow calculations for building B because it's the bigger of the two buildings in the back, and the exposure for building B is more because it's hitting C as well as the front building. So that's why I use that one, and there is sufficient fire flow based on ISO calculations to comply with the minimum standards for fire protection for those buildings. All right, let me just go to site utilities. So we had the construction limit line, which generally follows, for the most part, the silt fence, because that's usually the limits of excavation and disturbance. And the drainage didn't really change. We just added some detail. We just called out a little bit more information on top of wall elevations, things like that. In terms of, yeah, that was about it. I mean, they wanted us to add some more analysis to the watersheds, and we took a look at the impact of, especially along the front, because we don't want to drain the minimal amount of water towards the road, which engineering said, which we agree, we tried to do. And with this basin here, the watershed is just a little bit smaller because this area here is draining towards the back instead of towards the road. And you don't have the house here. So net, it was actually a small decrease towards Great Pasture Road, which is what they're always trying to strive for. So that's, and then the septic. Again, this really didn't change except for the reflection of the office, the minor changes there. Lighting again didn't change. And vehicle turning, I think for the most part, that didn't change either. And really the only sort of difficult situation in negotiating the traffic through the site is if it's a SU-30 vehicle coming around the front building, building A, is that they're not going to make this swing. So they would have to either pull up and then back and then drive out, or, drive around the building. But that's, other than that, getting around the site's pretty easy, especially since we've got it designed to take a tractor trailer. Oh, the other thing, going back to the site plan, I did add can't get more of that, but the unit calculations based on the size of the units within the building, there's just a table for each building. And again, we just added some more detail as requested by the engineering department. Same thing here on the erosion control. So I'm just going to go to the landscape plan. So you can see there is some pretty robust planting along the front, which is going to help too. Once that planting matures, we'll do a couple things. It'll help, screen the view to the fence, but also as some of this stuff gets bigger, it'll actually screen more of those doors that are along the front. And yeah, engineering asked that the landscape architect put the utilities on there just to avoid, any big plants or trees over those utilities. And Robert Rowan was just concerned about, say, the bigger trees here, just that they're not in the right of way, which they aren't, But, you know, you still had a concern about the root systems and things like that, but, you know, we have to plant that 20 feet, it's required. So, and they do require deciduous trees, so we really can't do too much other than we could try to push the trees back a little bit. So, yeah, these are just larger scale sheets, and then her notes and details, which I don't think that changed at all. And I just go to, so this was the rendering that was what was submitted. It's sometimes hard for them to really get a good handle on what looks like, what the actual grade is. Sometimes they don't really catch retaining walls, but you can see even the sidewalk wouldn't be on the edge of the road here. It's going to be back. There's going to be a snow shelf there. But this grade will be up, you know, higher. And then we do have a retaining wall along this, like this corner. It doesn't show. And then, of course, the landscaping is not shown here. But I think if you can kind of just visualize that, you know, maybe you're not, you know, with this fence, you're if this fence was solid fence, you're really not going to see much, especially since this fence is going to be even higher over here, that you're not really going to see too much of them doors anyway. And I don't think you can say that this building, the rest of the building is really an eyesore. I think it looks pretty good. So I'm just going to go back to so these are the architectural plans. Let me just. Sorry, I was paging down before. So this is the basement level of building A. You can see that there's a loading door here, another one here, and then there's the 3 doors, and this is at the lower level in the back. And this hatching here represents a portion of the building. It's pretty much below grade in the front. And then first floor, second and third floor, they're basically the same. And then this is building B. There's only, you know, 1 floor. It's on a slab. Reflects the office change in this corner. And there is, did I miss? Maybe it's on another sheet. That's building C. That's the lower level. You see the doors there. There's some hallways in here. And then on the upper level, you've got hallways going in for smaller units. And this is just a view of the back of the building, the front building, building A. The, you know, 2 loading doors, the other doors. Now, I don't think that I think that their directions on these elevations are a little bit off. I would have done them differently, but in any event. So on building B, this is the they're saying the east elevation, but you know, not really. But there's the office. And then you can see the building wings out over there, and that's a reflection of pretty much here. The shading of the doors represents the change in direction of that building. And the same thing here. It's just on the other side. The office is here. And then just elevations of the building C. This is where it's 2-level building. From it drops just on the ends. It just, the grade drops, so there's nothing there. And I'll look at that one because that one does bend too. So the shading is just representing the different view perspective of that. And then that's just a little rendering of the office. We can see there's a glass here on that side I was mentioning before. another view of the office, and then these are just the unit calcs, which I put on the site plan. So that's sort of the gist of the changes that were made based on the staff reports, engineering comments, and other department comments. So if there's any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Question, Mike, if you could go back to the turning movements plan.
Yes.
Yeah, that one. But before I ask my questions, Jen, was there a pre-application meeting with the applicant on this particular application? Did staff meet with the applicant?
Mr. Chairman, no, we did not do a pre-application meeting. It wasn't requested.
Yeah, I apologize. I'm going to ask a few questions, but typically, when you sort of take the helicopter up and look down on the application, the more granular sort of detailed questions on circulation are best handled in a meeting between staff and the applicant, only so we don't have to sort of hash this out within the context of a public hearing. So, okay, and maybe that could still happen. I don't know, but in any event, just Mike, looking at that turning movements plan, the over to the lower left-hand side of the diagram, it looks almost like a bit of a hairpin turn there or something. Can you walk me through that? I just am having trouble following.
Right here?
Yes.
Right. So it's just a turning movement for a passenger vehicle that shows that you could negotiate this turn and get out. Now, as I mentioned, the other one is for the SU30, which shows, I didn't even try it because I know that it just about works for a passenger vehicle. So, this wouldn't work. So that's why I said that this SU30 vehicle, which is it'll get around the building, nothing bigger, but you would have to, pull up here and then either back out, or you could just drive around the building and then just very easily get out.
So just where would it go? I'm sorry, Mike, the bigger vehicle would have to do what? Just walk me through that.
Right. So unfortunately, these are all broken up just to zoom in and make them a larger scale. But this one here is an SU30, which is basically a 30-foot long, say, UPS truck or delivery truck.
Right.
And that's these lines. And unfortunately, my AutoCAD I couldn't get it running up and running because it's saying that I needed to upgrade because it's an older version. So I tried, and it helps with the color, but these are the lines that show the outer limits of the box of the vehicle as well as the wheel travel. And so you can see it gets around the building okay. And then here, as I mentioned, it's not going to be able to make a right-hand turn and get out. So the vehicle's either going to pull up here and then just make a 1-point backing movement and then pull out. Or the other option is, if somebody doesn't want to back out, they could just drive around. And I don't think I have, oh, here we go. Let me just zoom out a little bit here. So we're talking about here, if the vehicle, just continue driving, it would just go around the building and then just drive out, you very easily drive out. So there's a couple options. It could drive down this one too and then go all the way around, but
Yeah,
again,
it looks very tight. Again, I don't know if it's to scale or anything, but just to sort of look at that, to go all the way around the building, as you mentioned, that it just looks like it's a very tight squeeze.
well, it's not really. This is all of this is one way. So all around the buildings, that's one way that way. This is one way this way. This is all one way this way. And then the only thing that's like two-way is somebody could pull in here and then drive around this way, but there's do not enter signs here. So this is all just one way. I mean, these are, this is, I think it's a WB 50 or maybe WB 40. Looks like a WB 40. So that's a pretty large tractor trailer that we're getting through the site.
And what if vehicles were parked along the buildings to load or unload? Would there still be enough room to get by?
Yeah, I mean, we're 30 feet in between the buildings, so you've got plenty of room for a vehicle. I mean, I just showed the movements to them here, but there's still, I mean, one-way travel in a straight portion like this, you only need like 12 feet. So you still have plenty of room to have a vehicle parked there and get around.
Okay.
And quite
And-
honestly, they don't really get a lot of tractor trailer traffic. They just felt like in this facility, they wanted to provide for it as somebody comes in and says, look, I really need to have tractor trailer access, at least they can offer it. But we don't see a lot of that in a lot of these. I mean, I've worked on a number of self-storage facilities. A lot of them can't even get a tractor trailer in because there's not a big demand for it. Because most of it is self-storage and people aren't, driving tractor trailers in there, but is there occasion that, maybe somebody wants a bit, has stuff on a tractor trailer, then they can accommodate it.
And looking at building A, is that a loading dock?
There is, okay, yes, right here, let me just zoom into that a little bit. Yeah, so there's a little bit of a retaining wall here and here and here. So the tractor trailer could pull up and then back into this drop, it drops down. So the back of the tractor trailer is at the same level as the loading dock, which is at the same level as the basement floor elevation. So not only are they just accommodating a tractor trailer, but they're more so because they have a loading dock where you can back into and offload at the level of the floor elevation.
Okay, so just in terms of the circulation, the plan is for the tractor trailer to go by the loading dock and then back into it.
Correct. Yeah, they have to back into a loading dock no matter where it is.
Okay.
But if you look at this, I mean, this is a very easy negotiation to back into a loading area. It's not like, I mean, I think of the guy down at the pet store on Nabby Road, just by Prime Pub, and the guy's literally struggling to get a tractor trailer into the loading area there. And he's out in the street blocking traffic trying to get in there. And it's just very difficult, but this is a very easy approach. You back in and then you pull out and no issues.
Okay. Commission members, anyone else have any questions? I just had personally had another question. This is a 3-story building A, right?
Building A is actually, well, they don't really count they call it basement floor. So there's actually 4 floors, but one of them from in the front is below grade. So if you look at it from the front, you've got 1, 2, 3 stories. But if you look at it from the back, Let me find that. There you go. So if you look at it from the back, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Because of that grade differential.
And forgive me if I asked if this was mentioned already. The idea of the roll-up doors not being seen by on Great Pasture, where did we leave on that? What was that something you agreed to, or we were going to have a landscape buffer? I must have missed that.
Well, yeah, so if I go back to this rendering here. So you can see that this fence, it's not a true representation of the grade difference between the road and the building, especially on this corner, because there's quite a bit of difference. So when you add in the fence, which I think we're calling it out for a 7-foot high fence, but being a solid fence, you're basically not going to see much of, if you look at this line of the fencing, let's say the top of the fence here, you're not going to really, and you're driving you're driving by your car, you're not really going to see them doors at all. I mean, yeah, initially if it was a chain link fence, you'd see it until the the buffer plantings grew up big enough and it would block it out, and eventually they will. But the idea was with the solid fence, you wouldn't hardly even see any of them doors.
Okay, any other questions, commission members, at this time? None. I'm sorry, Mike, was your presentation done, or?
Yeah, no, pretty much done. I think I went through everything, unless Ally or Jennifer see something that I forgot to bring up, then.
Let me just ask, is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this application? Anyone else in favor? Is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this application? Is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this application? Anyone in opposition? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this application? Jennifer, we're waiting for Avira, our traffic engineer, correct?
Yeah, hold on, Mr. Chairman. Councilman Dwayne Perkins has his hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry, Perk, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, commissioners. Mr. Chairman, I'm not necessarily here to speak against this proposal. I just wanted to get on record a couple of clarifying questions, or at least one clarifying question, Mr. Chairman. I can see that there are a lot of contour lines toward the north of that property. I also see that there's a riprap to help with erosion control. My question to you, through you, Mr. Chairman, is there any way to tell the percent of land that goes from pervious to impervious based on the total scope of this project? And Mr. Chairman, the reason I ask that is because I'm part of the Resilient Danbury project, and we look at flooding based on 10, 50, and 100-year events. We also look at extreme heat. So my concern is, and I'm all for development, but there is a relationship between the land that we build out and future flooding events. So just to recap again, is there a relation, or is there any way to tell how much of this land went from pervious to impervious? And if that's not something that we do already, we may want to consider that in the future, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Perkins. Mike, you want to take a shot at that, answering that question?
Yeah, let me just see if I can pull that pretty quick out of the drainage report. So there was some existing impervious because there was a house on the property.
Oh, and Dwayne Perkins, 22 Main Street, member of the Danbury City Council as well. Sorry, I didn't do that in the beginning. Sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, my bad. I should have asked you to do that. My bad.
So we have just slightly over 3 acres of impervious between buildings, parkings, driveways, loading areas, etc. And the entire site was 8. If I'm a zoning table here. Oh, no wonder why. So we have, let's get the accurate numbers here, 304,505. So yeah, roughly seven acres. So 3 out of the 7 acres. So
Thanks,
roughly
Mike.
43%. Sure. Was there something else that I missed? Some other question?
Does that work for you, Perk?
So let me just see if I get this right. So I guess there are a total of 7 acres, and that was at the beginning of the project. And 3 of those 7 acres have been built out to include these structures. So does that mean it goes from 7 acres to, I mean, how would I say that?
Well, no, like 3 of the 7 acres is impervious.
So, Mike, just to say back to you, it's a 7-acre site. If it's developed as proposed, 3 of the 7 acres will be impervious and 4 will not be impervious. Is that-
Correct. That's correct.
I got it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome. Did I call the opposition, Jen? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay, and I would just encourage, and again, I typically don't like to have a granular debate of circulation issues at the public hearing level. I like to see those things straightened out at the departmental level. So it's too late for a pre-application meeting because the application's already been put on the table. But I would encourage both parties, well, the staff and the applicant, if there are ongoing circulation issues, to talk and get those straightened out. Jen, did I miss anything on that? And I don't mean to be criticizing anybody. I'm just trying to make an observation as to how we usually do these things.
No, I think that's fine, Mr. Chairman. And, staff is available for the project team. We can sit down, and we are still waiting for the traffic engineer comments. So, it may ultimately be helpful to sit down with the traffic engineer. Again, we continue to have circulation issues. We'd started reviewing the plans. They had just come in within the past few days. So we're still completing our review. But we still have some of the same circulation issues. So once we sit down with the traffic engineer, get his comments, we can sit down with the project team and hopefully come back with the plan to the commission that resolves some of your circulation concerns.
Okay, thank you. Commission members, so as you've heard, we're not going to be closing this public hearing this evening. There's some open issues we haven't heard yet from our traffic engineer. So unless there's anything else, I'll entertain a motion to continue till our next meeting. Would anyone like to make a motion to that?
Mr. Chairman, so moved. I was on mute.
I saw Helen, but I'll second.
Okay, motion made and seconded to continue the public hearing. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, we'll continue this one till our next meeting, which again is on September 6th. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay, let's take a look at the agenda and keep moving forward. There's nothing under old business for discussion and possible action, so we'll move right to our first referral. Jen, I think you're handling that. It's an 824 referral, August City Council Agenda Item Number 9, sidewalk easement, 32 Germantown Road, J11362. Jennifer.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. So this is the sidewalk easement for 32 Germantown. This should look pretty familiar to the commission members. You just approved it back in June under SC 791. We'd asked and we required the applicant to construct a sidewalk. There's portions of it that are located within the right of way. So hence the easement. So staff has no objection. They've just got to work out all the details with respect to form and content with Corporation Counsel and the engineering department.
Questions for Jennifer, anybody? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion for a positive referral.
Mr.
Chairman, I'll
Chairman, I'd
make a
like to make a motion.
Everybody has to make.
Bob's been quiet. I'll let Bob do it.
Go ahead, Bob.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion for a positive referral.
Motion made, second.
I'll second it.
Looks like Mr. Haas with the second. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Right.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that matter gets a positive referral from planning. We'll move right to our next one. And where's my agenda? What did I do with it? There we go. Item 2 under referrals, 8.3A referral, petition of the city of Danbury by Sharon B. Calitro, planning director, to amend sections 3E9B and 10A1A of the zoning regulations. Change of issuing authority for certificate of location approval for motor vehicle dealers and repairers licenses from zoning commission to zoning enforcement officer. Public hearing rescheduled for September 12th, 2023. It's interesting because it looks like we'll be asking the zoning commission to make a decision on an issue that reduces the authority of the zoning commission. I think I got that right, but Jennifer, you go ahead.
No, I think you have that correct, Mr. Chairman. So you have Sharon's staff report dated July 3rd. So this petition, again, it's to amend sections 3E9D and 10A1 little a. And this is to comply with section 30 of Public Act 23-40, which became effective July 1st. The act provides within that relevant section that anyone who desires to obtain a license from the DMV for dealing in or repairing motor vehicles first obtain a certificate of approval from the ZEO. The way the regulations read now, and again, that was it was consistent with state statutes at the time, that power was given to the zoning commission. So with the change to the Public Act, it goes from the zoning commission to the zoning enforcement officer, hence those two sections. Again, that authority rested with the zoning commission. It was they would, sometimes do the public hearing, or the chairman would sign off on the location approval. So now that reverts to the ZEO. With respect to the POCD, the petition is necessary to ensure compliance with the Public Act and state statutes governing licensing of this use. Therefore, it's consistent with the POCD. We just ask that the Planning Commission include in its report to the Zoning Commission a statement of findings on the consistency of the amendment with the POCD and the reasons for your findings. I went through that very quickly. It was pretty straightforward, but if you have any questions, please ask.
No, but it's interesting because, on one hand, we don't have much choice because we have to comply with the Public Act. There's a new Public Act, 2340, went into effect July 1st, and our regs are out of compliance with that. So we really don't have a choice. But on the other hand, in my personal case, I would rather have a decision like this in the hands of the zoning, at least the zoning commission could ask questions with regard to issuing a license, for operating a vehicle dealer or repair shop like this. Whereas the ZEO, it's not a public hearing, whatever, but So it's kind of an interesting, case here. But again, I don't see where we have any choice. And then we can let the zoning commission have a public hearing and they can do whatever they want with it.
I don't see anything that says the ZEO can't take direction from the zoning board.
Yeah, but how would they know? In other words, there's not even a notice requirement. It's not like it comes before them. So you're on the zoning commission, you're waiting to get your agendas. This never shows up. I guess unless the ZEO tells them, there's no method or no procedure in place for them to know. But again, this is only a referral. I know you're all sick of me saying that, but it's only a referral. The zoning commission has to really have a public hearing and do a deep dive into it. So I don't know. Anyone want to make a motion on this one? I mean, my thought is a motion for a positive recommendation because we really have no choice, and then zoning can take over and have a full-blown public hearing debate on it. But
Mr. Chairman, I will make a motion to make a positive referral on this referral.
thank you, Helen. Do I hear a second?
I'll make a second.
Okay, motion made and seconded for a positive referral. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, this is handed back firmly to the zoning commission. And they will have the public hearing and consider the matter thoroughly. Okay. Again, I mentioned, again, looking at our agenda, there is another A3A referral, but if you look on the matter of the petition of the Danbury Mall to amend sections 2(3)(f)(2) of and add sections 5I and 8E4A to the zoning regulations, new mixed use regional mall zoning district will be and associated amendments. We're going to discuss that one at our next meeting on September 6th. That should be interesting. Yeah, so we'll talk about that one on September 6th. I mentioned earlier the typo on the matter of staff store real estate. That's coming on September 6th, not the 20th, as it shows on our agenda. We have nothing under correspondence or other matters for discussion and possible action. That's about it. Anything else, commission members? Hearing none, I guess I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Does anyone want to adjourn? Or we can stay here. I mean, I'm not busy tonight, but I mean, holy mackerel.
Mr. Chairman, I'll second.
Okay, motion made and seconded to adjourn. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 This meeting is adjourned. It was good to see everybody again, you know, in a long layoff, and everyone came back. So thank you. Talk to you next week, next month.
Have a good night.
Thanks, everyone.
Good night, everybody.
Nice to see you all.
Good seeing you.